Hey everybody, it's Book of Katherine, and do I have the best news ever for you? All 435 districts for the House of Representatives is up for re-election this year. And what does that mean? Let me tell you what that means. That means that Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, AOC, Rashida Tlaib, everyone who is driving you Democrats crazy and feeling like your party has gone so far beyond the things that you love and that you hold dear, it is time for you to vote them out. Vote them out. If you hate anti-Semitism, if you are for freedom of religion, if you are for freedom of speech, if you are for freedom to let each person be as they be, if you love watching Bill Maher and you're like, what is going on with the country and with the Democrats? Why isn't liberalism in our Democratic Party? Then it is time. This is the year. You have found your year. This is it. This is it. And you know when you do it? No, it's not November 3rd. You don't have to wait until November 3rd to vote in a Republican and then change your entire party. No, you don't. Thankfully, that's not the way we work around here. No. No, you get to do it during your primaries. That's right. Every time a person goes, there's a whole little process that we have in the United States. And what we do is we say, hey, you have to run for your party first. You have to get approved by the people in your party first in order to even run in the race. If you want to run against a Republican, your party has to approve you, which means, did they do a good job according to your party? Did you Democrats approve of the job that Rashida Tlaib did? Did you Democrats approve of the job that Chuck Schumer did? Did you Democrats approve of the job that Adam Schiff did? Did you think that Adam Schiff spent his $200,000 wisely by going up in front of Congress and reading out a fake transcript to the entire world media so that 6 months of every single congressperson's salaries of $200,000, which your taxes are paying for, millions of dollars down the drain because Trump just released the transcript and it turned out the transcript said a 180 thing from what Adam Schiff actually said. So Adam Schiff, who works for California, he actually represents Hollywood. If you go ahead and he represents the east side of Hollywood. He represents the east side of Hollywood, the north side and the south side of the 5 freeway in Hollywood over there. If you look at it, he actually kind of represents the Hollywood Bowl District all the way up there. That's what Adam Schiff represents. And I'd like to ask Hollywood, exactly how is Adam Schiff representing you, Hollywood? Because I gotta say, for all of you guys, I gotta be saying, for the guy that actually moved, you've been asking for Israel to have to have the actual, U.S. embassy move to Jerusalem. You've been saying forever, Jerusalem is our capital, so why isn't the U.S. embassy in our capital? How many years have you been asking for it? You've been asking for it since 1948, and not one president has done that for you. President Trump goes and does it. And let me ask, did Nancy Pelosi go to that U.S. embassy opening? No. Did Chuck Schumer go to that U.S. embassy opening? No, he didn't. Did Adam Schiff go to that U.S. embassy opening? Something that you Democrat voting, Jewish voting Democrats, entire Hollywood in that area, did he represent you well? Since that's what you're paying for? Instead, what he's done is he's backed Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib. Do you know when Steve King said something even a little bit wrong, they knocked him off of all of his posts? They actually fired him from everything. He's pretty much kicked out of Congress, Steve King. When Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar said anything anti-Semitic, they didn't kick them off of anything. Those girls have special privileges to our nation's greatest secrets for those people who are putting bombs on Israel. You do know that, right? That Chuck Schumer, who's up for re-election, you can vote out in the primaries, Chuck Schumer and Adam Schiff. So March 3rd, the primaries are the time to do it. And these are when the primaries are. What you do is you go in there, you the Democratic Party, you the Democrats, You go in there and you say, we want somebody else to run against a Republican on November 3rd. That's what you do. You just say, we want somebody else. And nobody goes to the primaries. Just nobody ever attends the primaries. It only takes a few thousand people to do. You just take it's like 3,000 people, anywhere from 3,000 to 10,000 people ever show up to the primaries. And so it's very easy for you to do, to just go there and sway the vote one way to the next person. And that's what we did with Clean the GOP. It's time to do it. And the thing is that if we don't do it this time, you've just got 2 years and they're up again. 2 years and Adam Schiff is up again and we whack his butt. That's what you do. 2 years, you decide who you want to go up against and you take him down. 2 years and you take out Nancy Pelosi again. We have forgotten that these people don't have to be there, that it's only by the grace of our votes. And let me tell you something. I think it's by the grace of the LAPD union. These unions have been going around and stuffing the ballot boxes and making sure, because you see it, like now that we're having these little poll numbers that are going around, when we're getting these raw polls, when people do polls and data and stuff, the Trump vote's off the chart. Like the Democrats get nothing. Every time there's some kind of raw, just street poll, street voter, whatever poll, something random poll, the liberals are shocked because they cannot believe at what extreme rate Trump is winning, right? They can't believe it because the press makes them think that they have a shot at winning because they have so many Democratic debates, right? They just make them think there's a shot at winning. There's no shot at winning. That's why they keep having Democrats up, because they don't want you to be aware that they can be voted out, that their people can be voted out. Vote them out in the primary. If you have decided to switch and become a Republican, go to the primaries and vote in a good Republican for your primary, because I can bet you the house that the Democrats are going there to the primaries. They have a nice, good candidate for your Republicans to run against Chuck Schumer and Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi. And I know Nancy Pelosi has a ton of that money. She has a ton of that money, but she hasn't been serving you very well, has she? Get another candidate. So anyway, here are the dates. Oh, and by the way, that also means the GOP people are up, which means like on March 3rd, which is coming up very soon, California, Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi. That also means Kevin McCarthy, which we all know, GOP people, you and me, we all know how Kevin McCarthy has been in the back. And remember we went through on my Twitter feed, you look up Kevin McCarthy on my Twitter feed, how the press absolutely adores him, puts him on a pedestal, what he has done for the Democratic Party, what he's not for the Democratic Party, for the National Socialists, the Nazi Party, right? How much Adam Schiff has done for the Nazi Party, for the Nazis, for the German socialists. I mean, that's really who we're fighting at this point, is the Roman German socialists. That union between Rome, Germany, and the UK. That's really who we've been fighting for generations. The American Revolution was against that trio, was against the trio of Rome, Germany, and the UK. That's who funded it. We found out that the Pope spoke out against the American Revolution. He wrote horrible things against it. And then we found we found portraits of him blessing the UK troops and the Prussian troops that went and attacked Americans. So that means he was funding it. So it was the Roman, German, Prussian troops who were attacking Americans because Prussia married the UK. It's been a German crown since the 1600s in the UK. So it's just this like threesome of the three of them. And they did World War I and they did World War II. It's just been going against this German thing for forever. This huge trifecta they've got going on. It's just awful. And you could say it's Ashkenazi, you could say that it's Germanics, but the fact of the matter is they may be at the very, very top, but they love, and you'll hear it, we've seen it, we've been watching Judaism, they love to throw out underneath the Jewish class. They still have a class system and they love to sell them out. That's what the Holocaust was about. They love to sell out their own people. And that's exactly what this is. So they're funding BDS. You need to look into BDS. The Jewish voters need to look into BDS and see how deeply the Democratic Party, George Soros, is funding BDS movement at our colleges. That's why we did Clean the GOP, because free speech was being killed at our colleges. And so it was just no one could speak. And Jews are getting killed at our colleges. They're getting nailed. Every religion's getting nailed at our colleges because movements like BDS, by the way, is this Muslim movement. They're actually funding Nazi youth weeks. They go up to Jews who come and speak and they say, why don't you come back our Nazi youth week we're sponsoring next week? And that's what the Democratic Party is funding. And I feel like people who vote Democrat have no idea. It's time to clean these things out because Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer vote for whatever bill they give them. It's terrifying. And we need to clean them out and get in some people who return back to center of the line, get back to the values of the Constitution that we once stood back so we can have a good debate again. So anyway, March 3rd, Nancy Pelosi, Adam Schiff, Kevin McCarthy. I'm sure there's a ton more. Not Dianne Feinstein. She's not up. She's not up for another year or two. But House Representatives, I'm sure there's a whole bunch, all 453. There's also a few people that are retiring, like in San Diego and in Yucca Valley. Some people are retiring. It's interesting to see why some people are retiring. It turns out there's some investigations into their insider trading and things like that. It's very nice. So some of it is draining the swamp. And so you need to get there for your primaries to make sure who is coming in is who you want to be in. You need to be going to these primary dates. All right, June 23rd is actually Chuck Schumer and AOC. I need to be honest with you about this. AOC's date was easier to find than Chuck Schumer's date. Chuck Schumer, you couldn't pull it up on Ballotpedia. You couldn't pull it up anywhere. I had to take so much time to find Chuck Schumer. You look up on Chuck Schumer, it doesn't say that he's running again. He hasn't filed it. He doesn't have to file until April 23rd. So he hasn't even filed yet. He's waiting till the last minute so it doesn't say, so you can't find when his primary date is. They're being very, very sneaky about Chuck Schumer, which means he's that valuable. He's that valuable to them. So you really need to watch Chuck Schumer. Really need to replace him. It means he's that valuable. So Chuck, and plus he's a senator, he's been there longer. So he's more valuable than AOC. A 2-year representative, that's just good for headlines. But this is the guy with all the ties, all the connections for the United Nations and for all the evil stuff going on. So Chuck Schumer, AOC, that's June 23rd. The deadline, by the way, is April 12th if you want to run against them. August 4th, by the way, they'll try and distract you and say, we filed somebody in, like we have a high school teacher to run against them. You'll notice all these people are running against them November 3rd. And why they're doing that is they don't want you to vote in the primary. They don't want you to go in the primary and knock them out. They know that in November 3rd, that's when everybody comes. They're coming for the presidential race, and it'll mostly go to whoever is on the ticket, no matter what. They know that they don't want you going on June 23rd, but that's the day to go. That's the big day. August 4th is Rashida Tlaib. August 11th, Ilhan Omar. And September 1st is Ayanna Pressley. Not everybody knows their states. I'll read you their states. So this is California. March 3rd is California. So Californians, yours is March 3rd. California is one of the states that combined it all. They're doing their primary for the presidential along with the federal. They're combining all the dates. June 23rd is New York. So New York is June 23rd, AOC and Chuck Schumer. August 4th, Rashida Tlaib is Michigan. So that's Michigan. Rashida Tlaib is Michigan. August 11th is Minnesota. So that's going to be Ilhan Omar is Minnesota. So you'll have your Democratic presidential primaries earlier. It'll be by the time June's over. So you might be having yours March 3rd for your primaries for your president. But August 11th will be your primaries for everybody else. So be careful about that. Rashida Tlaib is Michigan, August 4th. I already said that. Rashida Tlaib, August 4th. And then September 1st is Ayanna Pressley in Massachusetts. And there's some big people in Massachusetts. I think maybe Elizabeth Warren can be voted out or something. I think she might be up this year. There are some big people in Massachusetts that you can vote out, which is kind of exciting. So anyway, so Clean the DNC is on. Clean the DNC. We did a great job with Clean the GOP. All those people, by the way, are up for election. It's been 2 years. So those people we put in for Clean the GOP, you need to go back in your primaries and vote those people in. It's very important to keep them in. You can bet the GOP is coming in and trying to replace them out this year. They're going to need your support to do that. Don't do it. Make sure your people stay in and stay connected with them, stay on their email list, stay supportive of them, keep them going, and then find other people to keep joining you. Or if the person that didn't get in last time, help them to keep going. Let's keep it going across all 50 states. This is very, very exciting. So I should probably just get this out there. But can you do me a favor and please get the Clean the DNC message out there? Because March 3rd is coming up really fast with Adam Schiff and Nancy Pelosi. And there's all these videos of Nancy Pelosi ripping it. But like Donald Trump Jr. isn't saying a word about, hey, you know, he knows Democrats are sick of it. But you don't hear Donald Trump Jr. saying a word about, well, vote her out March 3rd, or Adam Schiff, vote her out. You know, you hear Donald Trump saying, you know, something should really be done about Adam Schiff. Something should be really done about Adam Schiff. You know, like something should really be done. And no one's saying, everyone's complaining about them, but no one's looking at like, maybe we should replace them in Congress. So easy to do. And I don't know if everyone just thinks the elections are that rigged, but he has really gone through, it's been 2.5 years now. He's done a lot with the election system. And especially, it's like California, like go in there. And I really hope the unions who normally rig these elections and stuff like that, and I know we have troops and stuff like that, kind of going in there, like you're signing up to actually run, like do the elections and be an election minister, making sure things go smoothly. Because if you're in there actually being election, if you're actually a poll person, you can really make sure. It only takes one bad poll person to throw a vote, right? So if you're in there watching and keeping the eye on everything, it's very hard for someone to cheat. You can really change the whole election just by being a poll worker and making sure. Because if you're making sure on everything, keep your eye on everything and keeping your eye, making sure it stays straight, people won't pull stuff. Like it's very hard for somebody to pull stuff if you're there as a poll worker keeping your eye out. And that's the whole thing. So that's why I always say sign up as a poll worker and then start watching the polls about 3 days in advance. Start watching your county elections. That's when they started stuffing ballots for Hillary Clinton down in Florida. Was 3 days in advance they started dumping votes, and just get video of that and send it to Veritas or whatever, send it wherever and make sure you don't get caught. So yeah, it was great when Veritas started posting videos immediately that day of poll workers breaking the law. That's a big deal because then that changes the election. Like New Jersey was really bad about breaking the law. And so you just want to be in there and help out, and we're seeing how bad New Jersey is. I mean, Chris Christie even. Chris Christie, he's been, and it's this Catholic thing. We're really noticing, like, I wouldn't, like, it's this Catholic, like, he brought in Germany's BASF. Like, one day a newspaper is like, oh, the 7 ways he's the best Catholic ever. And literally a few months later, that same paper, he's breaking ground on the Nazi convicted BASF. That company, in breaking ground on its headquarters in New Jersey. BASF is a convicted Nazi war criminal as the one who funded and created Hitler. Not only that, but it also created World War I. It was the manufacturer. BASF was the chemical company that the Treaty of Versailles broke apart. And they illegally found a way to come back together as a conglomerate, funded Hitler, and created World War II. They were so insistent on being this transnational, chemical company. And then Governor Chris Christie brings them in as a chemical company in New Jersey. And I'm like, I mean, that's how much the Nazis are making headway. They're using like Governor Chris Christie. And that's why I'm like, clean them out. Clean out, Kevin McCarthy, who does all the same. He's right in there with Chris Christie. I mean, I'm just like, these guys, all these career politicians have got to go. If you watch tapes of older, like GOP, like, okay, Bush state dinners, and then Obama state dinners, it's all the same people sitting there amongst same politicians. The press treated it differently, but it's all the same politicians. And just that has to go. And there's 435 like 435 seats are up. I don't know who did it. I don't know why they did it, but they decided to put all the seats up this year. Usually it's half of the House is up this year. They said all 435 seats of the House are up this year. What the heck is going on? If that's happening, we all need to be at our primaries and being like, clean them out, get out whoever the career politician is, clean them out. And it's crazy because the people who are retiring, there's like this list of Democrats, a huge list of Democrats retired last time. This year, it's like this many Democrats and this many Republicans. It's like a huge list of Republicans. So you need to see who the new people are and like make sure it's not people who are being backed. You know, you want to vote for the people who have no backing, who have no people backing them, who have no lobbyists backing them, who are owed by nobody. That's who you want to vote in. Someone who has nothing. You know what I mean? Someone who, no ties, no, you know what I mean? Who just, someone you'd trust with your wallet. And we're just learning that that's not, you know, but free speech, freedom of religion, Constitution. Free speech, freedom of religion, Constitution. Those are our things. And if possible, no to climate change. We're learning climate change actually means has nothing to do with emissions. If you look at climate change and what they've been doing for 30 years, look over at India and China. India and China have not been held to any emission standards. So now India and China have dumped so much plastic in the ocean. These, you know, the climate change cartel at the UN has put emission controls on all the Western countries like America and Australia, like America, pretty much mostly America and the UK. And then they've released all restrictions on Japan, China, and India. And now if you look at the pollution levels in China and India, it wasn't this way 30 years ago when climate change, the United Nations climate change in Rio began. Now they're wearing face masks. The pollution is so bad in India that they're actually wearing face masks. Like this giant building that Trump entered, it's all dirty now from the pollution. Like it's just drenched in dirt from it used to be the shiny white building. It's not even white anymore. They all wear face masks because they can't breathe from the pollution. It's so bad. And it's from companies like BASF and Bayer and BMW and Volkswagen. Just all their companies are there, and fast fashion is over there. Fast fashion's in India. Fast fashion's in there, and all the luxury brands. Chanel's over there. Every luxury brand, every top 10 luxury brand is over in India and China except for Hermes, which is why Hermes is always on back order. It's really, really bad. It's really, really bad. And so that the pollution's so bad, so much that China is now emitting 1/4 of the world's CO2. 1/4, it's pulling off our jet stream, our polar jet stream. And you can say like, and so you have to, and what's happened is when Trump pulled out of our climate change agreement, our CO2 emissions went down by 3%. So that's why I say like, if you can get somebody who's actually willing to say they're anti-climate change agenda, that's actually cleaner than what we're in. If you could go for that so that we can finally go after China and India. So that means they're actually ballsy enough to go after China and India and allow our streets to be cleaner. We've also learned it's not just emissions. We've learned it addresses 17 areas of our life. It addresses culture. It addresses, for example, all the PC lists about all the words you're not allowed to use. Those are addressed at climate change conventions. They determine our education standards at climate change conventions. They determine what words we're allowed to use at climate change conventions. They determine our culture at climate change conventions, what we're allowed to say, what we're not allowed to say, what we're allowed to wear. So when we weren't allowed to wear makeup, like girls not wearing makeup, that's decided at climate change conventions. This is a hussy thing. Wearing red lipstick, outline it because it's in climate change conventions, because most foreign cultures think that women wearing makeup is an evil thing. And so they fund it and we get it outlawed and everything like that. So this kind of top is not okay at a climate change convention. But, you know, that's democracy is supposed to be, especially our Constitution, it's freedom. Our Constitution is all about freedom. The problem is there isn't any other constitution like that in the world. So anyone who's anti-climate change is really pro-freedom. And but I know that's hard to find people. A lot of people just don't know that. So I encourage you to look into the Sustainable Development Goals. They all sound good, but look into the actual goal of each thing. And for example, the number one goal is poverty. You know, eliminate poverty in the world. Then you click into it and it says, we want everyone out of extreme hunger, like extreme poverty. And then you click on it more and you're like, well, extreme poverty is determined by the World Bank, who runs all this. The World Bank is the UN bank, as $1.90 per day. Well, that's really, really easy, especially starting 30 years ago. They set that 30 years ago. Well, $1.90 a day, since they've done that, now you can look at the world graph. And now 80% of the world is earning $1.90 a day. And they've done it. And if they keep going, that means they just have to aim for $1.91 a day. And so when you look at that champagne glass of wealth distribution, of how the wealth used to be distributed, it used to be lower, and now, whoop, it's all at the top and it's all thin. That's that wealth distribution of their goal of everyone being above $1.90 a day. Well, they can target $1.91, and it's happened. It's the wealth distribution. Look at the champagne glass and see how the champagne glass wealth distribution chart has changed over the last 30 years. And you'll see that they've been hitting that target. It's the World Bank. These are bankers who are doing it. When you see world bankers at Doha or whatever, they're sitting there. At Marrakesh, all these bankers got up and held a thing and said, we're looking for emissions below 0.1%. We can do it. And I'm like, they have no emissions like that that's just for America they want it for. They don't want that for China. They don't want it for India. But they know if they crush America and get it to 0.1%, that means their biggest competitor is dead. And that means they can get all of America's resources and no more freedom, no more private wealth. They get to own it all, right? So they're just like, yay. And I'm like, look at who's owning it. Like, look who's saying 0.1%. You know, it's all suits. It's all bankers who are owning this at these climate change conventions at COP25 and CCP and CC whatever. So I really encourage people, if you look at them, if you actually look on the history of them on Wikipedia, if you look up climate change conferences on Wikipedia, they start in Berlin. They start at all the world axis of evil for World War II, World War I and World War II. Berlin, Japan, Italy, Berlin, Japan, Italy, straight on down the line, all the first conferences. Just all those, and it benefits all of those people. Japan has done great. They have zero restrictions on them. Japan is dumping nuclear waste in the ocean like you wouldn't believe. So these are very important because these guys all, when you see them sitting down, when Trump says something like America first or Americans are doing well and we should, and you heard the Democrats actually laugh when he said something like we should be making laws that benefit American, and you heard them laugh. It's because these guys are like, are you kidding me? Like, we're making laws that benefit this we're making laws for this top 1%. Don't you know these little guys are dead? Don't you know they're like fodder? Don't you know like they're not worth anything anymore? Don't you know they're dead and buried? Like, the world has moved on from the little people. They don't have rights anymore. Don't you know we've moved on? And he's just like, no, we haven't. Look at how we've bounced back. In just 2.5 years, Americans are earning on average $5,000 more per person. Because it's so easy once you cut back climate change restrictions. You know, our emissions go down and our wages go up. And actually, you know, inequities have started to dissipate. And not only that, but he's used all of that to start rescuing religious persecution victims from all over the globe. That's why India loves him so much, because there's so many religious deaths in India, and he's really working to start ending that. It's a really big deal. So, yeah. All right, here we go. Clean the DNC. Let's do it. Yes. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I just can't hide it. I know. Yeah, I like it. Woohoo. Excited. Woohoo. So excited. Woohoo. Because on the day we vote, it's the one time we're more powerful than George Soros. All the money in the world cannot change the day we vote. It's the one day that we're more powerful than the Queen of England. And all her wealth from 5,000 years ago. Because we have the right to vote. Peace out. Au revoir. See you guys on the next one. Bye. Oh, donate down below. Please. Thank you. And subscribe. Stay in touch. Bye.